How's it going today, guys? So today I'm going to be going over my own version of the deck Dark Box. This is a deck that I run to my locals. It does quite well, if I have to say. I've been playing it for about a year now, basically since Shrouded Fable came out, since that's when a lot of the cards, basically the engine of this, released. And I'm going to start off the video by saying that this deck does quite good against the meta. It has pretty much great to even matchups against all or most of the meta decks currently, as of Mega Evolution. And this deck can do really great pretty much against any matchup, if I'm being honest here. I have a lot of options, a lot of attacks for pretty much every setup. One of the most crucial things here will be just kind of setting up your bench at the beginning. As you saw, I run a trolley. So getting your bench set up is probably the most crucial point in the game. You want to really set up for each matchup and, you know, run only what you have to. So I'm going to be breaking down each card and kind of, you know, telling you about the matchups and showing off the combos and how everything kind of works in here. And then I also wanted to talk about the one secret weapon that I kind of never hear anyone talk about. At my locals, people always got to read the card, and they're always kind of surprised at how powerful it is. It can take out 2 prizers for 1 energy. It can even help you stall in a real tough pinch. You don't really want to use it for that, but it can definitely help. And it can hit up to 160 with poison, or even up to 190 for that 1 energy, if you have a, you know, monkey math involved. So I'm gonna go ahead and break everything down and kind of explain to you how the deck works. So let's go ahead and get this started. All right, we're gonna go ahead and start with the Pokemon EX. I'm gonna go ahead and run 2 of these because he's one of the main engine pieces for this deck. He's really great with the Subjugating Chains ability, which allows you to switch in one of your benched dark Pokemon into the active spot, except for Pokemon EX. So basically, he just can't switch himself in. And then the new active Pokemon is now poisoned. So this will allow you to activate Okidogi's Chain Craze, to activate that Binding Mochi on any of your baby attackers. I do run 2, mostly just because you pretty much have to have 1 in play at all times, or at least it's very helpful for this free switching. Then for late game, Irritated Outburst, his attack for 2 dark energy, allows you to do 60, and then for each prize card your opponent has taken, does 60 times that amount. So you're doing up to 300 damage if they've taken 5 prize cards. And then he can attach a Binding Mochi for even more damage, doing up to 340, plus any poison and monkey math. You're able to hit some pretty high numbers. Or I also can attach a Bravery Charm on this guy, just so he's less of a liability. But he's pretty much essential. You want to have him in play at all times. He can be an easy target, but I mean, if he gets targeted, your other guys get to live and, you know, do stuff, so not the worst. So that's gonna be about it for him. Right, next up we have that Brute Bonnet Ancient card. So he's also one of the essential engine pieces for the deck. We do run 2 just to pretty much try to make sure we always have at least 1 available to us. And he's mostly here for that ability Toxic Powder. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon has an Ancient Booster Capsule attached, you may make both active Pokemon poisoned. So this is huge for activating your Okidogi EX or any of your baby attackers with Binding Mochi. And then it'll also poison the opponent's Pokemon for extra damage, as well as if your Pokemon live, that poison damage is a little free extra damage you can move around with Monkey Dory. And then he also has an attack, Rampaging Hammer, 3 energy for 120, and then during your next turn, this Pokemon can't attack. So we definitely don't really want to attack with him, but 120 for 3, I mean, it's not great, but it's also not that hard to set up with Janine's or with Professor Sada's Vitality. So I mean, if you're ever in a pinch and you want to attack with a 1 prizer, or maybe take a cheeky 2 prizer out like a Latias EX or a Mew EX, then this guy can do it. Like I said, you really don't want to. You want to kind of just have him sitting on the bench poisoning though. So that's going to be about it for him. Alright, so next up we have the Petulant basic card. And this one has a really cool ability that, as long as if this Pokemon is in the active spot, put 5 more damage counters on your opponent's poison Pokemon during checkup. So with the regular 10 from poison plus 5, you're doing 60 damage in between turns with this guy. And if you can manage to get out the Perilous Jungle, you're doing 80 between turns. And that's really good to knock out a lot of evolving baby Pokemon. You can go ahead and do that turn 1. Instead of attacking, you poison them. And then the cool thing about that is if they die to poison, they're dying between turns as opposed to dying on your turn, which cancels out their cards like Pheasantipity that let you draw if your Pokemon was KO'd on the opponent's turn. And then Well, yeah, and then another cool thing with this is that if you attack with one of your main attackers and they come back, retaliate, and knock out your main attacker, you can throw this guy back into the active, and because you have to declare a new active before the end of the turn, when it becomes the between turn phase, this guy procs the ability again, so you're doing up to 60 damage between turns when you send him as a new active. And I've caught a lot of opponents off guard. They don't really realize that's how that works. So they'll be just barely living with like 30-40 HP. You throw him out, instead of taking 1 from poison, they take 6. So this guy's really helpful for shenanigans like that. And then other than that, I mean, he has an attack Poison Chain for 10, 2 energy. Your opponent's active Pokemon is poisoned, and then during your opponent's next turn, that Pokemon can't retreat. So it's kind of like the Yveltal's attack. It just retreat locks them. It does cost 2. I mean, the fact that it poisons is kind of helpful, depending on like if you're having trouble setting up some of your bench guys. But I mean, not a whole lot with the attack. I do use it once in a while, and especially if you can attach a Binding Mochi, depending on the matchup. I mean, 50 plus poison plus retreat lock isn't bad, but he's mostly just going to be used for poison shenanigans, so that's why I run 2 of him. Next up, I have the Okidogi EX. He's going to be pretty much one of our main attackers for most other EX decks we're going to be fighting against, since he can do a lot of damage. He has 250 HP, which is kind of low. He's kind of easy to take out. I do run that Brave Charm for certain matchups. You might want to put that Brave Charm on him, as well as the Binding Mochi. He can do a lot more damage. But we'll go ahead and get into the attacks. He has Poisonous Musculature that allows you to search your deck for up to 2 basic dark energy cards and attach them to this Pokemon. Shuffle the deck, and then if you attach cards in this way, then this Pokemon becomes poisoned. So in a pinch, if you can't get like your Brute Bonnet or your Petron EX up, that's one way to poison himself. He also builds himself up. So if you're fighting against a slower deck where like they aren't gonna pretty much knock him out on the next turn, you might want to go ahead and set yourself up with Poisonous Musculature. And then his attack, which is the main thing here, 3 energy, Chain Craze 130, and then if this Pokemon is poisoned, this attack does 130 more. So it's usually pretty easy to get poisoned. You're doing 260 if you're poisoned. Attach a Binding Mochi, you're doing 300. With poison, from Brute Bonnet, you're doing 310, and then if you have that Stadium, you're doing up to 330 if they are not a dark Pokemon. So you're pretty much one-shotting a lot of things with this guy. And then, I mean, that's gonna be about it. So he's just a really good hard hitter. And yeah, pretty easy to set up with Janine and Energy Switch, etc. But just a really cool card. Alrighty, next up we have the Roaring Moon EX. I do only run 1 of these. I've considered, kind of swapping around either 2 Roaring Moon or 2 Okidokis. I think I do find it better to run 2 Okidokis though, as he's a little bit more versatile. But Roaring Moon on its own has some really good attacks, so we'll go ahead and get into those. Frenzied Gouging for 3, and it just outright knocks out your opponent's active Pokemon. And then if the opponent's active Pokemon is knocked out in this way, you take 200 damage. So this can knock out literally anything in the game. Any Megas, 380 HP Megas, Giant's Belt, don't matter. If you can manage to get that Frenzied Gouging off, you're just outright killing them. So this guy is really, really, really good for that. The only thing that kind of counters it is Mist Energy. But otherwise, I mean, really great attacker. And then the second attack, Calamity Storm, does 100, and then if you may discard a Stadium card in play, and then this attack does 120 more. So you're doing up to 220. Obviously, he can always have that Binding Mochi, so Calamity Storm can do up to 260, plus Poison and Monkey Math. Those numbers add up. Or, I mean, otherwise, the only other card you can really put on him is that Ancient Booster. That gets him up to 290 HP, and then he can't be poisoned. But I mean, most of the time I find that I want to save those Ancient Boosters just in case they choose to knock out my Brute Bonnet. And then this guy can get built up pretty easily, attach from turn, and then you can always use Janine's Secret Art or Professor Sada's Vitality. And then Energy Switch, and then pretty much he's built up. He can be built up in 1 turn if you have the right setups. But yeah, really great attacker. So like I said, you maybe want to run 2 of these if you want him to be your main attacker. But I do find the higher damage, slightly higher HP and everything from Okidogi usually seems to do better for me. Alright, next up we have the basic Yveltal. This guy has 110 HP. And then we mostly run him for that first attack Clutch. During your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't retreat for 20 damage. This will go ahead and help you stall if you're having a slow setup, or I mean if you kinda just can't really do anything else, it's always great to try and lock them in. It'll help you build up your board or just, stall for time sometimes. And then his second attack, Dark Feather for 110, nothing crazy. And then you can always attach Binding Mochi, stack a little bit more damage, and then with the Retreat Lock, you can, stack up poison damage, Monkey Dory some of your own damage away. So it's a decent card, kind of mostly just a stall tactic. But the main reason we have him in here is going to be for that free retreat cost down there. So you can do a lot of combos with this. You can go ahead and, if you don't have Petron EX in play, you pretty much want to start your turn with him in the active. That way you can have a free pivot, free retreat into whatever you want. Then we also have that Kangaskhan, Mega Kangaskhan EX in the back. So what mostly I use them for, we want to start our turn with the Yveltal, and then free retreat into that Mega Kangaskhan EX. And then after that you can Subjugating Chains into your new active and attack freely. So you're basically just getting a free draw 2 per turn with this guy. And then another cool thing you can do, so like if you're fighting a matchup where the numbers are like really tight and like pretty much 10 damage can be whether you get knocked out or live. A lot of the time you can go ahead and Subjugating Chains this guy into the active, use Brute Bonnet's Toxic Powder, poison him and then your opponent's Pokemon, and then free retreat, that'll cleanse your poison, and then you have a fresh attacker. As long as they don't need to be poisoned, then your fresh attacker can just attack and then they won't stack up poison damage on themselves. So that's pretty much the use for him. He's pretty versatile. I do only run one for that reason, but he's a pretty essential card in a lot of matchups. Alright, next up we have that Mega Kangaskhan EX I mentioned. So he has an awesome ability to run Errand. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, you may use this ability, draw 2 cards, and then you can't use that ability more than once in a turn. So like I said, you want to maybe start out with the Yveltal as your active, free retreat into this guy, draw 2, and then just Subjugating Chains whatever your attacker for the turn is going to be. And then you get a free draw 2. And then the other cool thing about this guy, he has an attack rapid fire combo for 3. I mean, all our guys attack for 3. And then, so you may flip a coin until you get tails, and then this attack does 50 more for each head. So 200 plus 50 for heads is, it's definitely decent damage. In a pinch, you can definitely build him up. You can always attach from hand and then energy switch. I do run 3 energy switch. So he's not the hardest to build up, but usually we don't really want to be attacking with him. And then he has 300 HP. He is a mega, so he gives out 3 prizes if he dies. So we really want to try and protect him. And I do run Brave Charm in here. We pretty much always want to save that Brave Charm for him, depending on the matchup, because we really don't want to be giving away 3 prizes here. But he's very essential for pretty much helping us draw our return and kind of keeping our hand healthy and, keeping our game running along. So that's mostly what I run him for. Next up, we run a single copy of Monkey Dory. If you play the game, I'm sure you know what this guy does. He's pretty much in like every other deck at this point. But I'll go ahead and let you know. Adrenabrain. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon has a dark energy attached, you may move 3 damage counters from one of your Pokemon to your opponent's Pokemon. So, like I said, any poison damage you're stacking up on yourself, he can pretty much cleanse it off of you. He can just heal you as long as you have that dark energy attached. And then, I mean, also, if you manage to live any attacks, definitely Monkey Dory is just free damage on your opponent's board, basically. That's really the only thing we run him for. You can honestly sometimes leave him out of a certain matchup, depending on the matchup. You don't want to bench him, but it's really nice to have. He's pretty much a great option at all times. Alright, last but not least, we have our secret weapon of the deck, and pretty much our second main attacker. It's going to be the basic Sableye. This guy has 70 HP, and his first attack, Night Eyes, does your opponent's active Pokemon is now asleep. You pretty much don't want to do this at any point, but I have been in situations where in a pinch, it's basically you lose the game or you get really lucky and flip some sleep coins and they stay asleep and it buys you a turn. So definitely not a useless attack, can be used in a pinch. You don't usually want to do it. But we run this guy for that second attack, Unseen Claw, which does 20 damage, and if your opponent's active Pokemon is affected by a special condition, which this deck is set up to do pretty much all the time, it does 70 more damage. So you're doing 90 damage for 1 dark energy, and then, you add the poison, that's 100. And then this guy is pretty much your prime target for that Binding Mochi that we run. So with that Binding Mochi, you do plus 40, you're doing 130 damage, plus poison. If you have that Perilous Jungle, you're doing 160. If you have some damage on the board with Monkey Dory, you're doing 190, so this guy can hit really, really hard. Just as a one prizer with 1 energy. Pretty much set him up on the fly whenever you want. And then, so this guy, he can knock out the Mew EXs. I know a lot of decks run Mew EX to, you know, as a draw engine. This guy just outright one-shots it if you're able to poison them. And then we also can knock out Latias EX, which a lot of other decks run for that free retreat. This guy can knock it out with the Binding Mochi straight up. Or if you don't got the Binding Mochi, but you have the Perilous Jungle, they die to poison. And if you have maybe 30 damage on the board with Monkey Dory, you also knock out. So pretty much really great attacker. This guy can knock out pretty much any stage 1 or basic non-EX Pokemon. So like any like Charmanders, Dreepies, Drakloaks, anything like that. So this guy is really, really great one prizer, really versatile. And honestly, just an awesome card. Really slept on. Never hear anyone talk about him, but he's honestly the star of the deck a lot of the time. And I implore you to really give this guy a chance. He's awesome. So that's gonna be Sableye. Alright, so that's gonna be about it for Pokemon in our deck. And next up, we're gonna go ahead and start with our ace spec, which is gonna be Precious Trolley. Search your deck for any number of basic Pokemon, put them into your bench, and then shuffle the deck. So this deck is all basic Pokemon, as you saw as I went through them. You want to get this literally as soon as you can. If you can start it in hand, you know, it's amazing. But we want to pretty much always start with an Arven in this deck. So Arven, you grab the Precious Trolley, you grab the Ancient Booster, you set up your Brute Bonnet, you set up your whole bench. Like I said, it's essential to kind of set up your bench based on the matchup. But you know, set up that full bench and you're at a huge advantage. You're doing poison damage turn 1, you're attacking with Sableye turn 1. Pretty much you're just set up and you're immediately putting pressure on the opponent. So that's why I run Precious Trolley. If this thing gets prized, you might be cooked. Still worth a shot, you know, trying to play it out, but like this deck is hugely reliant on that Precious Trolley, so we definitely want to get this thing out ASAP. Alright, next up we have the Arven, another completely essential card for this deck. You pretty much want to get this going first turn, going second. This deck wants to go second. And then you want to get this Arven out ASAP. I mean, best case scenario, you get this Arven, you get out your Precious Trolley if it's not prized. And then that Ancient Booster if you didn't grab it in hand at the beginning of the game. And then you're pretty much set up, you're good to go for the whole game from there. Everything that happens after that is kind of an afterthought. You're pretty much set up, you just got to make sure you get energy in play. And yeah, so we run the 4 Arven. After the early game, you know, Arven's a little bit less useful, but we run the 4 because like I said, you want to get him as soon as you can. Other than that, there's not much else to say about him. He's a very, very helpful supporter card in general. I mean, it can grab you essential pieces at any point in the game. But yeah, that's gonna be about it for him. Alrighty, next up we have the Janine Secret Art Trainer supporter card. This one's also going to be pretty much our most essential supporter for the deck other than Arven. This one, once you get the Arven, turn 1, you set everything up, you pretty much want to get one of these every turn if you can. So this card allows you choose up to 2 of your dark Pokemon, and then for each of those Pokemon, search your deck for a basic dark energy card, attach it to that Pokemon, then shuffle your deck. And then if you attach energy to your active Pokemon in this way, it is now poisoned. So, I mean, if you attach to your bench, obviously you won't get poisoned. But this allows you to just accelerate energy onto your bench, onto your active. Pretty much every turn you can, if you already have your bench set up with Trolley, or maybe you just got lucky and set up otherwise, you pretty much always want to do Janine's Secret Art. And then, so it allows you to attach 2 from the deck as well, so that's very helpful. That allows you to just get 2 on board, and then you can still attach 1 for turn from hand. So that's going to be how you do a lot of your combos. You attach to 2 different Pokemon, attach 1 from hand, and then if you have an energy switch, you can switch it from that second Pokemon onto your to the 1 Pokemon you want to attack with. So just like that, Janine energy switch attached from hand, you're setting up a Roaring Moon, and then you're one-shotting whatever you want. You're setting up an Okidoki, which is hitting for up to like 300 damage pretty easily. You can always just set up the energies on a lot of your other small bench Pokemon and just have them ready to be energy switched. just for later on in the game. So very essential. You pretty much want to just start stacking up energy, and with this deck, have it on board. It's always helpful to have it. Alrighty, next up we have the Lily's Determination. So this one lets you shuffle your hand into your deck, draw 6, and then if you have exactly 6 prize cards remaining, then draw 8 instead. So this is going to be our good old hand reset card and our general draw support. So early game, if you can't get all your Arven, I mean, you can always do with Lilies. Grabbing 8 new cards is always helpful. You can grab a lot of your essential pieces from that. And then just in general, if you're not liking your hand, if you get like judged or Iono'd, then you know, if you have a Lilies, you can always just get a good healthy hand going again. And then I do run the Lilies instead of something like a Professor's Research, because I mean, we don't really want to discard much in this deck. All of our pieces are pretty essential to just have available at all times. So that's why I run that Lilies. And then this can be interchangeable with other draw support. I used to run things like what is it, Morty's Conviction. And then I also used to run Atticus, but Lilies is pretty much a safer, just safer version of Atticus. So for general draw support, like I said, I mean, it can be interchangeable. You can maybe run a couple less, but otherwise, I like the 3 Lilies. I find that they're just really good general draw support. So that's gonna be about it for her. Alrighty, so next up we have the good old tried and true Boss's Order. This one lets you switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active. So I do run 2 of these. These are really essential for pretty much any time in the game. It's always helpful to maybe bring out one of their Pokemon and be able to stall them out if you're having trouble setting up. Or maybe taking out one of the pieces they're building while they're still building it and not ready to attack. And then late game, obviously, you can always take a 2 prize KO with Boss's Order. And then one great thing about Boss's Order too is that, like I said, a lot of people run those Latias and Mew. With a Sableye, you can just boss out a Mew or a Latias and you're immediately taking a 2 prize KO. Pretty much for 1 energy, pretty easily. So you do want to save these bosses. You want to try not to waste them. I only run 2, so you do have to be careful with them. But I mean, it's just a general really good card. So it's going to be pretty much all for bosses here. Next up, we got 2 Iono. So this one says, each player shuffles their hand and puts it at the bottom of their deck. If either player put any cards at the bottom of their deck in this way, each player draws a card for each of their remaining prize cards. So this one will, early game, can just be general draw support. I mean, shuffling both players' hands can always be helpful. It can help your opponent, so I try not to use Iono if I can help it. This is mostly going to be for late game hand disruption. So when they're down to 2-3 prizes, having them shuffle can always be huge. It can always set them back real hard. But yeah, it's always good to keep in mind. It can also help them out. So like I said, I try not to use the Ionos until late game. I run 2 just because disruption is really powerful. I pretty much always want to be able to have the option to play an Iono. But that's going to be about it for her. Next up, we got the Professor Sada's Vitality. So this one says, choose up to 2 of your ancient Pokemon and attach a basic energy from your discard pile to each of them. And then if you attached any energy in this way, draw 3 cards. So I only run 1 of these. This one I pretty much will run mostly late game. Once I have some dark energy in the discard pile, she can attach to the Brute Bonnet and the Roaring Moon. And I mean, getting 2 extra energy on board, like I said, is pretty huge in this deck. Just getting energy on board in general is always really helpful. You can always energy switch and then attach from hand to get your guys built up. And then drawing the extra 3 as well, I mean, is just a little bit of extra general draw support. If you wanted to go heavier on the Roaring Moon build and add 2 Roaring Moon instead of the 2 Okidoki, then I might consider adding 1 more of these. But since I pretty much would attach to the Brute Bonnets and the Roaring Moon only, I do only run 1. And like I said, I try to save it for late game once I do have that energy in the discard pile. But a very helpful card, just another form of energy acceleration to have in there. Alright, next up we have the Pokegear 3.0 item card. This one lets you look at the top 7 cards of your deck. You may reveal a supporter card you find there and put it into your hand, and then shuffle the other cards back into your deck. So I do run 4 of these. It's essential, like I said, to try and grab those Arvens early game. Running 4 Arvens and 4 of these pretty much, I mean, it doesn't guarantee it, but it gives you the highest chance to grab that Arven ASAP. And then this deck is really heavy on the supporter engine. So like we want to get those Janines when we need them. We want to get those Sada later in the game. We want to get those Boss's Orders for those cheeky KOs. And then even just grabbing those Ionos late game too can always be helpful. So we run 4 of these. We just pretty much want to have the correct supporter on every turn, and this is probably the best way to be able to help you grab those. So that's going to be about it for this one. Next up, we have Energy Switch. I do run 3 of these, and this one says move a basic energy card from one of your Pokemon to another of your Pokemon. So with our heavy energy acceleration engine from Janine and Sada, basically we can always just get our 3 energy attackers going within the same turn. So if we do a attach from hand, attach with Janine, and then we switch the energy from the second Pokemon that we attach with Janine onto the main attacker that we want to use, then we immediately can get our 3 energy attackers going. So that means we can just Roaring Moon, Frenzied Gouging just on the fly. We can get our Okie Dokie hitting for 260 pretty much on the fly. Or if not, I mean, like I said, we can always just have that energy on board ready to be switched for whenever we need it. So, I mean, just huge card. That's a really essential part of the engine, is to just be able to accelerate that energy, and, you know, the energy switch is how we're going to get that energy accelerated onto who we want it when we need it. Next up, we have the Night Stretcher. I do run 2 of these. This one says put a Pokemon or a basic energy card from your discard pile into your hand. It's really versatile, being able to just grab any Pokemon from the discard and put it back in hand, or being able to grab an energy for those turns that you just don't have an energy in hand to attach for turn. You pretty much always want to attach for turn, so being able to just grab one from the discard is always helpful. I most of the time will end up using these to grab back attackers like my Sableye, or being able to just get maybe back like a Pecharunt EX or the Poison Petcharuns just for situations. But this is our only form of recovery. We don't run anything like a Super Rod or anything, so you do want to save these and kind of just use them as needed on a game-to-game basis. But it's a very versatile card, so we run 2 of these. Next up, we have Earthen Vessel. I do run 2 of these, and this one says you can only use this card if you discard another card from your hand, and then search your deck for up to 2 basic energy cards, reveal them, and put them into your hand, and shuffle your deck. So, like I said, not a whole lot to say here. We want to attach from hand for turn pretty much every turn. Having that energy on the board is essential. So having these, or being able to have energy in your hand at all times and then play one for turn, is essential. But yeah, not really much else to say about that. Next up, we have Perilous Jungle. This card's going to be pretty much our only stadium card in the deck. So as much as I'd love to add more, I really am having trouble finding the space. I've been flip-flopping between 3 and 2 of these. Right now I'm at 2 of these, and I'm just really more careful about how I play them instead of having that 3rd one. But so this one says, during Pokemon checkup, put 2 damage counters on each poisoned non-dark Pokemon. 2 damage counters more. So pretty much any non-dark Pokemon take 3 from poison instead of 1. The only thing on our side of the board is going to be that Mega Kangaskhan that can take that extra damage. But this will help you take those KOs on opponents with that extra 2 damage. Like I said, I try to not play these unless I absolutely have to. Unless this card is going to get me a KO, I probably won't put this down. And then I'll try and save them as well in case my opponent is running a stadium card that I really got to get rid of. Then I'll go ahead and play that Perilous Jungle just to replace it. But yeah, like I said, I'd love to run one more to give me a few more options. But I find that that extra 2 damage a lot of the time is not completely necessary. So the 2 that I run, I just try to play only when I have to. But that's going to be about all for that. Next up, we have Counter Catcher. This card reads, you can only use this card if you have more prize cards remaining than your opponent, and then switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon to the active spot. So this deck is turbo aggressive. I try to take KOs pretty much every turn, which means we're not really going to be able to use this as often as we'd like. But having a boss's order and an item card is huge. And then late game, since we do run a lot of 1-prizers, we can kind of skew the prize race in our favor to be able to use this. But yeah, I only run 1. It's a helpful card. I don't always get to use it, but boss's order on a item is just too good to not at least run 1 of for a lot of situations. So that's going to be about it for that. Next up, we have 1 Nest Ball. This one lets you search your deck for a basic Pokemon and put it onto the bench, then shuffle your deck. So we are all in with that Precious Trolley. We pretty much are not really going to need this nest ball, but we more or less just run this as a failsafe in case we don't get that precious trolley, or in case, you know, it's prized. Then we still have a way to kind of set up some of our essential engine pieces. But a lot of the time, you're not going to be needing Nest Ball. You can sometimes play this later on in the game, once a few things have gotten KO'd. If you need to replace that Petron EX or replace one of your baby attackers. But that's pretty much why we only run one. We only really need one. Next up, we got the Binding Mochi Tool card. This card reads, attacks used by the poison Pokemon this card is attached to do 40 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So it's going to be essential kind of just pick and choosing who we attach these to every game. That extra 40 damage boost is going to be big, and taking KOs on little guys. You can always take KOs with the Yveltal or the baby Petrons perhaps. Sableye hitting 130 if you attach these. The Okidokis hitting 300 if you attach these. The Roaring Moon's hitting 260 with the second attack if you do these. Even the Petron EX can hit up to 340 late game if they've taken 5 prize cards. So if you can fudge those numbers, you're having a 340 late game attacker plus poison on top of that. So it can hit really big numbers. You just want to make sure you kind of play these right. Don't really put these down if you don't need to. And that's going to be about it for Binding Mochi. Next, we have the Ancient Booster Energy Capsule. This one reads, the Ancient Pokemon this card is attached to gets plus 60 HP, recovers from all special conditions, and cannot be affected by any special conditions. So we run this pretty much only for the Brute Bonnet. That activates our Toxic Powder ability and allows us to poison both active Pokemon. You can run this and attach it onto the Roaring Moon, and giving it an extra 60 HP and making it immune to the poison can help you live. But since if you're using Frenzied Gouging, you're taking 200 damage. Pretty much anything can KO you after that. But there are situations where that extra 60 HP can help you live. And then otherwise, I mean, I do try and save them pretty much all the time. There are times my opponent wants to target the Brute Bonnet. So being able to just, you know, get another one going is still essential. But other than that, that's going to be about it for that. Our last card besides the energy is going to be the Bravery Charm. This one reads, the basic Pokemon this card is attached to gets plus 50 HP. We run all basics, so you can attach this to anything in the deck. Usually it's going to be on the Kangaskhan, the Mega Kangaskhan EX, because we don't want to be giving away 3 prizes. So being able to make it a bit tankier is always huge. Sometimes I will put this on the Petron EX if they have something like a Dragapult that does 200 damage. It can help it not get targeted. But otherwise, most of the time this is going on Kangaskhan. And it can also go on Okidogi actually. Since the Okidogi takes poison damage, it gets a little bit squishier, it gets a little bit easier to KO. So you kind of just want to think about it. Kind of just want to see where you want to place this on any given game. But most of the time, Kangaskhan and Petron's going to be the way to go. So that's going to be about all for Brave Charm. Last but not least, we have 9 basic Dark Energy. So I think 9's a good number. 9 allows me to pretty much be able to draw into them with my draw support as often as I can, at least. I mean, it's obviously random, but being able to just draw them and have an attach from hand every turn is huge. And then it also leaves me plenty of space to attach them with Janine. It allows me to stack my board up. It allows for a couple of them to be prized, and I'm not like just, you know, starving for an energy drought. But I think 9's a good number. You can maybe tweak that a little teeny bit, but I find that 9 is honestly the magic number. I probably wouldn't run any less than that, and I probably wouldn't run any more than that. So it's gonna be about all for that. So that's going to be my deck profile for the Dark Box deck, pretty much. So go ahead and let me know what you guys think. I encourage you guys to try the deck out. It's super fun. Like I said, this deck does quite good against a lot of the meta. It has so many options. You can get a lot of early game donks. You can do all kinds of stuff with this deck. It's honestly probably the most fun deck in the game from, all the decks that I play. So personally, I'd highly recommend it. Go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know if you have any tweaks you maybe suggest. Obviously try it out for yourselves. Let me know if you guys do good with it. Let me know if you win. Let me know if you don't win. But yeah, it's an awesome deck. Definitely encourage you guys to try it out. Yeah, but like and subscribe if you guys want to see me make another deck profile on some of my other decks. I do play Rocket's Mewtwo EX. That's one of my other main decks. I know that deck has some problems, but it's definitely one of the more fun decks, and I think it's a little bit slept on, high key. So just go ahead and let me know if you guys want to see any more content like this. I did take me a while to get this one going here, but a lot of fun, and like I said, I'm excited to kind of hear and see what you guys think about the deck, and hopefully see some of you guys try them out. So thank you guys. See y'all on the next one. And yeah, just have yourselves a good day.